everyone, welcome back to Hobby Farm on the Heights. I'm Ruth. It's another beautiful day this spring. It's so gorgeous. I really should be in my house cleaning my kitchen, but I escaped the house. I wanted to come out to the greenhouse. I have almost all the windows open out here, and it's about 82 degrees, which is like perfect weather if you're solar powered like I am. So to escape my house, I decided to come out here because, of course, my plants needed me. They were calling my name. I have a repotting project that I'm working on today. I seeded some basil plants in a 4-cell container, and you'll notice that there's a lot of them packed into this 4-cell container. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully take them out and carefully take them apart and repot them. Down here you can see I have some new cells. Already have some potting soil. One thing you'll notice here that it is dry potting soil, and there's a reason for that, and I'll show you in a second. I do have some already done up. You can see they're all pretty, each in their individual cells, so they can have more room to develop roots and grow a bigger plant. Had I left them in this cell all together, one, it wouldn't grow to be a very, very big plant because it'd get all root bound. And as I got bigger, there would be no way to get them apart like I'm going to do now. So you'll notice if I put this in nice and close, the basil has just one set of true leaves, which is the second set of leaves that it comes up. When it originally sprouts, it'll have a set of leaves, but those are not considered true leaves. And you can do more research on that if you guys remember biology from high school or college. Botany, all of that. Anyway, so what I'm going to do at this stage, it's actually fairly easy if you're gentle about it to separate them out. And it does take a little time and some finesse, but my time spent in a commercial greenhouse is coming in handy. Another thing you'll notice besides the dirt being dry is I'm not wearing gloves. Normally when I garden, I wear gloves because I have really dry skin, dry hands. And one of the things that I discovered when I was working in a greenhouse, that the dry dirt just really dries out around your fingernails, and every night I'd wash and put lotion all over my hands and they'd still be cracked and bleeding. And so normally I try my best to wear gloves, but sometimes it's just too clumsy and I take them off. But for this project, you need to have bare hands. You can use the medical plastic gloves, but right now with our wonderful situation, I would not use them for this. There's other things that those plastic gloves kind of need to go for besides this. And hopefully I can finish this project today and wash and put lotion on and keep my hands from cracking and bleeding too much. But that's why I normally wear gloves. But it's just too clumsy for this job. So I'm going to carefully tease out this basil from my cell. And if my camera's good enough, you can see those white things coming around? That's the roots. It's got some good root development. Now this is going to take a little bit of time because I'm going to try to tease those roots apart as best I can. So I'm going to come in here. I'm just going to slowly start removing some of this potting soil. Now if I was in a fancy greenhouse like I got to work in before, we had these seed trays that had multiple cells, and each plug would be this little square that had the seed in it. Of course, we had a commercial seeder that would put one seed in each cell, so it's not clumped like this, but I'm getting it apart. Here's 2 plants. I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to continue teasing these apart, being very careful not to snap them off. But they're basil's hardier than they look, I will say. There we go, there we go, look at that. Okay, so I have a chunk here with those white roots. And I'm gonna come in here, take my finger, hopefully you guys can see this well, and I'm gonna just stuff it in, that dry dirt, and it just goes right in. Just like that. Maybe if I hold it up, you guys can see it better. So I'm going to take it, carefully bunch it up, and I'm going to take my fingers and just stuff it in that dirt. See how it sits up like that? If the dirt was wet, you couldn't get it in very well and get the plant around. You want to make sure that your plant is standing upright, not laying on the dirt, because then you could get damp off if the stem is laying in the dirt. And then those are standing really nice and tall there. And I'll have to come back in here and tease some more out. But I did decide that next year I'm gonna initially seed my basil a little different. I seeded them in the 4-cell packs because it was old seed and I wasn't sure what the germ rate was gonna be. Usually if it's older seed, it was a couple years old. Not every seed germinates and makes a plant. And so I put in, obviously, several seeds in each of the cells, and it germed beautifully. So now I get the replanting job. But it is the excuse to get out of my house and not have to clean my kitchen yet. So it's win-win. But next time I will, oh, that one's gonna be a little stubborn. Tease it off a little bit. There it comes. Next time I will seed it more in this seed tray I have here. I'm going to show you. This is a pie container from Costco, but I just scattered, this is zinnia seeds, you can see. I just scattered the seeds all over, and these will tease out much easier because they're spread apart, but I'm going to get lots of plants with not using much space. In a greenhouse, space is always a premium, of course, anywhere in a greenhouse. I once saw this cute little garden sign that said something to the effect of, God made rainy days so gardeners could get the housework done. And if I had an evil laugh, I would cue my evil laugh and say, ha ha, not if they own a greenhouse. Because that's kind of how I feel. Anyway, so I'm just going to keep teasing these apart and repotting and replanting, and I am going to have a huge crop of basil to grow and to give away. I know some of my family has already called dibs on some of my herb plants, which is what I like to do. I like to grow things to share. So anyway, I'm just going to keep teasing apart and poking. To me, one of the more finessey things of this is carefully watering them in. I ran out of seed starting potting soil, and I am avoiding town at all costs right now. If I don't have to go to town, I'm not going to town. And so I just had regular potting soil, which is chunkier and it doesn't wick up water from the bottom like I like to water my young seedlings with. And so I'm trying to carefully water them from the top without knocking them over, which is hard to do when you have little seeds like that, or little plants like this. But I don't want them ever laying on the dirt to get damp off. It's like death to seedlings. That one came apart really, really quickly, really nicely. Anyway, I love growing basil. Basil is a fun herb to grow. It's easy, and I also love to cook, so I end up using it a lot. Ta-da! Another little plant there. This job would be a lot faster if I had one of those nice big cell for seed starting, but you know, I kind of like free and easy too. So there you go. That's repotting little seedlings. You can do this with other plants too. Today I'm doing the basil, but you could do that with like the zinnias I have over there. Once a plant gets some true leaves, it is usually a good indication that it has some good roots growing. You got to have enough roots that it would be able to be transplanted and can take off on its own. Has to withstand a little trauma. That's the word I'm looking for. Trauma of being transplanted. So anyway, get your hands dirty, have some fun, and hopefully this was instructional for you. and you learn something a little bit more of what to do when you have bunches of plants grouped together.